From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Vice President J.D. Vance arrived in Israel to assess the Gaza ceasefire as officials accuse Israel of blocking aid. This and more in today's show, so stay tuned. Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani has condemned Israel for continued violations of the Gaza ceasefire. Speaking at the opening of the Shura Council session in Qatar's capital, Doha, the Emir said Israel had turned Gaza into an area unfit for human life. He added that it was unfortunate the international community remains incapable of enforcing respect for the tragedy of the Palestinian people. Israel has violated the 11-day-old truce 80 times and killed over 90 Palestinians since it began on October 10th. In September, Israel carried out an airstrike on a Hamas negotiating team in Qatar, triggering a major diplomatic fallout. Doha called it a blatant violation of international law. Despite tensions, Qatar continues to mediate between Israel and Hamas. The U.S.-brokered ceasefire now faces growing strain amid Israeli ceasefire violations. Vice President J.D. Vance has arrived in Israel to monitor the progress of the U.S.-brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The agreement was supposed to bring a surge of relief supplies after more than 2 years of Israeli siege and destruction in Gaza. However, the government media office in Gaza says this part of the truce has fallen far below what was promised under the deal. Officials say only 986 trucks have arrived since the truce began, out of 6,600 expected. They say the convoys included just 14 trucks with cooking gas and 28 carrying diesel for bakeries, hospitals, and generators. They have accused Israel of using aid as humanitarian blackmail against Gaza's 2.4 million residents. Meanwhile, the health ministry says Israel returned 15 more Palestinian bodies, bringing the total to 165 since exchanges began. Some doctors allege signs of torture on the remains of Palestinian detainees held in Israeli custody. Israeli soldiers killed 6 Palestinians in Gaza within 24 hours in the latest violation of the U.S.-brokered ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. Hospitals in Gaza received 13 bodies and 8 wounded during the same period, medical sources said. The Israeli army has admitted that it fired on several Palestinians, claiming they crossed the yellow line, a new boundary set inside Gaza based on the latest ceasefire deal. The Palestinian government media office has reported 80 ceasefire violations since the U.S.-brokered deal took effect on October 10th, killing 97 Palestinians and wounding 230 others. The Red Cross says it has facilitated the transfer of 15 Palestinian bodies from Israel to Gaza, bringing the total handed over to 165. Hamas official Khalil al-Hayya says teams are struggling to recover the bodies of Israeli prisoners killed since the start of Israel's genocide in Gaza. Thousands remain buried under rubble. According to the Palestinian Education Ministry, more than 20,000 students have been killed since October 2023. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 68,229 people and wounded 170,369 since October 2023. Israeli soldiers have bulldozed approximately 17 acres of land owned by Palestinian farmers in Beit Omar, south of Hebron. Local activist Yusuf Abu Maria told Anadolu news agency that the destruction was carried out to expand the nearby illegal Jewish settlement area. He said Israeli forces also confiscated the land, leaving several families without their farms. Since January, Israel has issued 53 military seizure orders across the West Bank, according to the Palestinian Colonization and Wall Resistance Commission. It also says Israel has confiscated 13,590 acres of land and built 25 buffer zones around illegal Israeli settlements in the past 2 years. The UN and International Court of Justice have declared Israeli settlements in occupied Palestinian territories illegal under international law. They have warned that ongoing expansion undermines any prospect of a two-state solution. A Palestinian rights group says senior Hamas leader Mohammed Jamal al-Natshe is in critical condition inside an Israeli prison. The 68-year-old from the West Bank city of Hebron suffers from several illnesses and has shown memory loss and disorientation. The Palestine Center for Prisoner Studies accuses Israel of deliberate medical neglect and torture, calling it an attempt to silently assassinate al-Natshe, who was arrested in March. The group held Israeli authorities fully responsible for his life and urged international action. Al-Natshi has reportedly been subjected to brutal interrogation despite his age and poor health. He has spent 23 years in Israeli prisons, mostly under administrative detention without charge. Israeli soldiers have killed more than 1,000 Palestinians and arrested 20,000 in the occupied West Bank since October 2023, as Israel continues its genocide in Gaza. A student group and the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, have filed a lawsuit against Chicago's Northwestern University. They claim the school's mandatory anti-Semitism training is discriminatory and violates free speech. The Northwestern Graduate Workers for Palestine alleges in the complaint that the training's use of a broad definition of anti-Semitism limits political discourse and free speech, labeling political criticism of Israel as anti-Semitic. They argue that it silences Arab and Palestinian students from expressing national or political views. The lawsuit also challenges the university's threat to suspend or expel students who refuse to take the course. According to reports, at least 300 students have been blocked from class registration. A video from the training is at the center of the controversy. It is produced by the Jewish United Fund and allegedly compares anti-Israel protesters to members of the violent white supremacist group, the KKK. Northwestern claims the training combats hate on campus, but students insist it dehumanizes Arabs and punishes those who speak out for Palestinian rights. Islam is now Finland's third most studied religion, surpassing Orthodox Christianity. Details after the break, so stay tuned.
My name is Layla. I was an average kid until Zula Inc. broke into my life because my dad discovered time travel. After that, everything changed.
You're the new girl Layla, right?
Whoa! What if I don't fit in?
Abdullah!
Do I hear my name? Welcome to Vancouver, cuz.
Whoa!
You four have been specially chosen to take our project into the next generation.
You can time travel?
Abdullah! No! Abdullah! Where?
Do you really think I don't know why we had to leave Seattle, Mama?
Now here, keep these close. These should never leave your wrist.
This virtual reality game is crazy. You can even eat. This is reality, buddy. We zoomed through a wormhole.
Oh no! My Go Watch! It's gone!
What does this do?
That's Al-Khwarizmi. You know, the father of mathematics. It's because of him we have algorithms.
I will not stop until your legacy, everyone's legacy, lies in ruins. Of course it was you. You little rascals ruined everything.
Your fate will be great. Just don't give up.
Time hoppers.
British Jewish groups have condemned Israel's diaspora ministry for inviting far-right anti-Islam activist Tommy Robinson to whitewash Israeli crimes committed in Gaza. They called Robinson a thug who represents the worst of Britain. They accused Israel's diaspora affairs minister, Amichai Chikli, of being a diaspora minister in name only. Robinson is visiting Israel at Chikli's invitation. Speaking to reporters in Tel Aviv, Robinson said he was on a fact-finding mission to counter what he described as a major propaganda campaign against Israel and Jews. He rejected claims that a genocide was taking place in Gaza and praised Israel as a beacon of democracy surrounded by totalitarian hellholes. Robinson said his tour included visits to Jerusalem, a Palestinian refugee camp, and an upcoming trip to the West Bank. More than 11,000 people have signed a letter urging a U.S. judge to show leniency toward Palestinian-American student Tariq Bazrouk. He faces sentencing next week for federal hate crime charges. The 20-year-old City University of New York student has already spent nearly 6 months at the Metropolitan Detention Center, which supporters called inhumane. The letter, sent to Judge Richard Berman, asks that Bazrouk serve the rest of his sentence under supervised release instead of additional jail time. Bazrouk pleaded guilty to 1 count of hate crime after being accused of assaulting 3 pro-Israel demonstrators in New York between April 2024 and January. He faces up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Supporters say a long sentence would cause more trauma. They say restorative justice can be achieved through education, counseling, and community rehabilitation. President Donald Trump is facing widespread backlash after posting an AI-generated video showing him dropping sludge from a fighter jet onto protesters at Saturday's nationwide No Kings rallies. Nearly 7 million people across the country participated in the protests, which was one of the largest mass demonstrations against a sitting U.S. president in modern history. Trump's video, shared on his Truth Social account, shows him wearing a crown in a jet labeled King Trump. It appeared hours after the No Kings rallies took place. Social media users called the clip juvenile and disgusting, with some saying it reflected Trump's contempt for democracy. One user wrote, "It is the most honest thing he has ever posted." Critics say the post mocked Americans exercising their right to protest. House Speaker Mike Johnson defended Trump, saying he was using satire to make a point. The Department of Homeland Security has arrested more than 480,000 undocumented immigrants since January. Secretary Kristi Noem claims that 70% of them have criminal charges or convictions. Speaking at a news conference in Florida, Noem said the arrests reflect President Donald Trump's push to tighten border and immigration enforcement during his second term. She said the aim is to make communities safer so families can thrive. Homeland Security had earlier reported that approximately 2 million undocumented migrants have left the country since Trump returned to office. This includes 1.6 million voluntary departures and more than 400,000 deportations. Trump praised federal agencies for what he called record-breaking law enforcement activity. He said the FBI has arrested more than 28,000 violent criminals and seized 1,900 kilograms of fentanyl, enough, he claimed, to kill 125 million people. Islam has become the 3rd most studied religion in Finland's schools, according to new data from Statistics Finland. In 2024, 4.2% of primary school students and 3.3% of lower secondary ones received Islamic education. That share has steadily increased since 2018. Senior statistician Vesa Hamalainen says Islam has now surpassed Orthodox Christianity in popularity with a 2-point lead in primary schools. Evangelical Lutheran studies remain dominant, with 77% of primary and 82% of secondary students still enrolled. The number of students choosing secular ethics, known as worldview education, also rose sharply. About 15% of primary and 11% of secondary students studied ethics in 2024, more than double the 2016 levels. A new study has found that kiwis may help ease chronic constipation, a condition that affects 1 in 6 people worldwide. Researchers say eating kiwis along with rye bread and mineral-rich water can promote better digestion and more regular bowel movements. The findings were published in the Journal of Human Nutrition and Dietetics, as well as Neurogastroenterology and Motility. Lead author Eirini Demidi says these guidelines will help doctors give clear, evidence-based dietary recommendations. Kiwis are rich in fiber and contain the enzyme actinidin, which helps break down proteins and improve digestion. Experts say the guidance mainly applies to healthy adults with idiopathic constipation, not those with conditions like pregnancy or neurological disorders. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. Please donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.